Hi, everybody. It's Monday, which means that it's time for Ed Tech Chat and Chew, right, friends?
That's right.
Yeah. And this is episode number 35, which today we're going to be talking about how you can use things like Twitter and other social media to bring in experts into your classroom. So if your students are studying anything, there is somebody out there who's passionate about that. So how do you find that passionate person to connect with your kids and inspire them? That's kind of the topic of the day. I'm Diane Smokorowski, coming to you from Andover, Kansas, and always with me is the amazing Mike.
Hi, everyone. Mike from Pennsylvania.
And my also dear friend, Miss Micah.
Hi, guys.
And she's just from up the street. So, yeah, we have lots of good things going on. And it is a busy day, you know, with time zone changes and everything. Mike, how are you feeling with the time zone change?
That was brutal getting up this morning. I don't enjoy, what are we, springing forward? I much enjoy the falling back more. Springing forward is rough on Monday morning.
And Micah, how are you doing?
Hanging in there. We did not go to the early church service yesterday. We went ahead and went to the second one.
Yeah, and we didn't even make it out. We just streamed it on television. So that tells you how bad it was. But Mike, you use a lot of experts in your learning with all different ages and so forth. What do you love about connecting with an expert?
Well, I think a couple things. I mean, you know, first of all, people are experts in things that they're passionate about. And we know that kids get passionate about, that passion is contagious. Well, I've got my passing bell going right now. We know that kids get passionate when they get that, you know, from other people. And, you know, often we talk about how passionate teachers are great at passing that passion on to their kids. Well, passionate experts are greater at passing on their passion for those different topics to students also. And so that's one great thing. And the other piece is relevance. You know, so many times we talk to kids about content that they need to know, but we don't show them how it's being used in the real world and how it's being used to solve real problems out there. And experts are the ones who are doing those things. So, you know, it's great to have an expert talk to kids about different problems that they're working on, but when they can involve kids and have students try and, you know, solve those problems along with them, that's when you get the complete package. So that's what I've seen in my classroom anyway.
Most definitely. Micah, what would you add to that?
I totally agree, especially with the relevant part. We can pull it offline or we can get it out of textbook, but if kids can see someone face-to-face with that passion and that knowledge, that's way better than anything we could give them.
You know, and you were talking about being contagious, Mike. You know, I like what Danielle Massey says. She was at a hotel, and you know, you get the little bars of soap that you can get at the hotels, and there was a phone number on there. If you want to know more about this company, dial this number to find out about the bar of soap. And she says, you know what? There is somebody out there who is passionate about soap. They probably collect soap, and they have they can name every one of the scents that are out there in the history of the companies who have been selling soap. There is someone who is passionate about everything. Or everything has a passionate person behind it, I guess is a good way to describe it.
Right.
And golly gracious, if you can have that person's energy and enthusiasm get on the call, kids look at that and go, you get paid to love this, what you do? That's a great gig. Maybe I should find out what I love and go from there. So Mike, what are some of the cool people that you have connected with via social networks for kids?
Oh, so many. Just off the top of my head, we had a great call with a meteorologist not too long ago, where we were looking for someone to talk to our fourth graders for a weather unit that they were studying. And you know, how I found the most success connecting with experts is to throw it out to the professional learning networks that I have on Twitter and Facebook. And you know, I'm a big believer in the Kevin Bacon rule of social connectedness, that the person you need for your students is never more than 3 connections away. You know, never more than 3 degrees of separation. And so I usually ask in multiple places on Facebook, where I've got friends, family, and you know, teachers that I'm connected with. On Twitter, where it's usually, you know, my network tends to be more teacher-centered or educator-centered on Twitter. And I throw it out and I say, hey, is there anyone who can find, you know, X expert for me? And in this case, a meteorologist. And you know, I actually had 3 different meteorologists that were willing to connect with us, and so we connected them with different students. One of them happened to be in Puerto Rico, which was really cool because it was a very different very different weather patterns that they have down there compared to us up here in the Northeast. And what we did is, for some of them we used Skype to connect, but others we used Google Hangout for the kids that couldn't connect at the same time. So that just like we do with our podcast, we were able to record that into a YouTube video and then let our kids connect there. One that happened even more recently than that, we connected our third graders with Agate Fossil Beds National Monument, which has an amazing fossil diorama. They do a great job with fossils. But in this case, we were actually more interested in their Native American artifacts. And they have a great special room put aside in the National Monument there that is dedicated to the Lakota Sioux Indians. And they have some amazing artifacts there. And they actually brought in one of the National Park Service's museum curators, who is not stationed at Agate Fossil Beds, but they brought in the curator just to talk to our students, to talk about not just the artifacts that are on display, but how they store other artifacts behind the scenes, and how they let people who are doing research come into the museum and go and see those behind-the-scenes artifacts. And the kids didn't know it at the time, but the reason for us doing this is over the last couple of weeks, our third graders have actually been building their own Native American artifact museum. And it all started with this Skype call. And what we've done is they're working on that now, and actually on Friday, they're inviting in parents and press. They're giving out press passes to different newspapers that we've invited. And we're going to have the press come in, and there's going to be a ribbon-cutting ceremony. And students are going to be scheduled at different times to take the visitors around the museum and to explain to them, here are the Northwest tribes, in the northwest part of the country, and here are some of the artifacts, and here's why they're important to those, to those tribes up there. And it's a collaboration of all the third graders, and it all started by the Agate Fossil Beds park rangers and that museum curator sharing their passion with the kids that sparked their interest in doing this. So, yeah, it's amazing what can happen when that passion is shared.
Most definitely, and you've kind of become super friends with the Agate Fossil Bed Rangers.
Yeah, we were actually their first connection last year, and now we've had probably 4 or 5 different calls with them for different reasons. And I know their distance learning has exploded since that first call with them last year. I know they've connected with places as far away as Serbia and Greece and some other places. So they're sharing their awesomeness with people all over the world now. So it's kind of cool. It
is amazing. And Micah, I know you've got a story like that or two yourself. What are some of the greatest people you connect with, experts for students?
Well, I'm still learning. I'm learning from the best. One connection that has recently happened is the George Washington Carver Museum down in Texas. We had a curious first grade baby who had been studying him and wanted to know more about his life. And it just happened one of his little readers mentioned the museum, and he goes, I want to talk to one of those people. And it's funny how that's kind of our kids' natural reaction now, because we do so much Skype. They know that they should talk to somebody else and that it's really cool to talk to experts. And so he said, I wonder if they would Skype with us. I was like, I don't know, let's find out. And so I sought out this museum via Twitter and got a response, and she's like, I don't know about this kind of stuff. So I said, I can help you with this. Let's make this happen. And so right now she's working on getting her Skype ID, and I'll get her set up. But this kid's curiosity is going to get answered by this expert, which is really, really cool. And Smoke taught me a really cool trick. Smoke, are you going to talk about that Google trick? Okay, yes. Awesome. I have a 5th grade class who's just going to be learning about the Boston Massacre, and I just got this today, and they want to Skype with someone. I'm like, okay. So I used Smoke's trick, which she's going to show you, and I found the Boston Tea-Ship Museum on Twitter, and they're talking about free Skyping and things. So I said, okay, we're going to be friends. So I've tweeted them out, and we'll see if they ping us back. But like I said earlier, it's much better than I could ever give any of the students, or that a textbook could ever give any of the students. So those are just a couple of the cool experts that I've been lining up.
Well, and the great part about it is, and I'm sure you'll say the same, Mike, is most people that you ask, they say yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the things that we've talked about it, I think, on and off the air before, Diane, is, first start with whatever content you have and think, who is the most incredible person that I could talk to about this? If I could connect my kids to anybody, on this topic, who would it be, right? So you identify that person or those handful of people, and sometimes maybe it's better not to identify a specific person, but say, like, we want to talk to the CEO of a toy company. Instead of one specific CEO, just say a CEO in general. So that identifies maybe 5 or 6 different people that you want your kids to connect to. and then contact them and ask if you can bring them into the classroom. Or better yet, you've probably got a 20% success rate if you just cold call them on your own or send an email, maybe even less. But if you have your students do it, well-prepped students, more than half of the time you're going to get a positive response. And often recently we've had, if we're looking for a certain kind of person to come in, I end up with more than one of them, and we end up connecting with multiple people just because so many people are willing to say yes.
It really opens the doors to unlimited possibilities. So let me show the trick, and it's not an invisible trick by any means. It may be something that you already know how to do, but maybe haven't thought of how to do that. So can you see the screen, guys?
Yep.
Okay. So there is a search feature directly in Twitter, and the address is just twitter.com/search-home, or you can type in more directly search.twitter.com. It will take you directly here. And we have a high school statistics class that wants to talk to a bracketologist, the people who do the March Madness brackets. Mike, would you be interested in knowing about the March Madness brackets?
Absolutely.
Because I know you're a basketball fan, so that helps. So what I did is just typed in bracketologist in here to see what's going on with that. Joe Lenardi, who I didn't know, I'm embarrassed to say, but now I definitely know, is of course the quintessential bracketologist there is for ESPN. But just going down through here, when you do the search, these are the top results that are happening in Twitter right now, but I can narrow it down over here on the left, so maybe it's people. And starting to see there's Joe Lenardi, who's into brackets, and then we found this particular guy, Shelby Mast. When I clicked on his profile, I noticed that he is the official bracketologist for USA Today. That got my attention, to say the least. And so all I did is went to his page, and then I composed a tweet. When I did that, I said, we have a group of high school statistics students who want to know the math behind probability in brackets. Can you help us? Hashtag Skype to learn. The number 2 learn. In less than 15 minutes, he wrote back and said, yes, I would love to help with kids. Let's make that happen. And so tomorrow, he is going to do the call with 2 different high schools at the same time. That's kind of cool, don't you think, Mike?
That is more than cool. That is awesome.
And I just finished a test call with him, and I have to say, he's pretty energetic, enthusiastic about brackets. It's going to be a terrific day. You should see his spreadsheets. Oh, my golly, it's impressive. Okay, so that's one way. The other way is to go through Google, which I think is sometimes a little bit easier. And when you do that, I'm looking for bracketologist. I'm going to add site:/twitter.com. Now I prefer to go this direction versus the Twitter search feature, mostly because I can narrow it down by time. If I go over here to search tools and then choose the drop down, I can narrow it down by the past month, even the past week. And when I chose that narrow down, it took me the Joe Lenardi, of course, but notice he has 136,000 people that are following him. That's kind of a tall order. I said I needed to find somebody who might be a little bit less followed but just as cool. And then that's when we ended up finding Shelby. And he has about 1,200 followers, but I have a feeling that after this he will be he'll be having a few more student followers here real soon. But that's pretty much the trick.
That excites me, not just as a college basketball and sports fan, but as someone who's passionate about statistics. Like, that's like the best of all worlds coming together. That's such an awesome call.
Well, really what he does is he has a paper printing company and sells the paper for the insert ads that you see at department stores like JCPenney. He sells them paper and does things like that. He says, I use math like all the time. I am a diehard math geek. And I said, well, it just so happens I have some math students who want to be nerdy, and they don't know it yet. So let's make this happen. And so he's going to talk to them tomorrow at 12:45. And what's really cool is we talked about being friends, and then there's digital super friends, which means like you make these connections through experiences like this, and then you really do build relationships with these experts so you can bring them in the next year and the next year and so forth. So
yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, there's several people who we started out, just with me contacting. I can think of astrophysicist Dean Hines down in Maryland. It started with me finding him on a website and asking if he would talk to our 5th grade students. And because of that, I just found out he's just an incredibly awesome guy. We've become friends on Facebook. He's talked to our high school kids, to our 5th grade students again, and I just enjoy knowing him and being connected with him now. Just because we've got so many things in common. So yeah, those relationships do definitely spring up, after you start working with someone.
Most definitely. And now these 2 math teachers, because they actually started the conversation in Twitter where we had a running conversation. And yeah, they were tweeting back and forth of, here's my story, here's yours. They really have become friends. And that's how we've all become friends with people like Mrs. P. and Jillian Morris from Sharks for Kids, and oh golly, the list just kind of goes on and on. Yeah. Several park rangers. Nobody is cooler than Ranger Chris from Biscayne. Nobody. There's just some great people who are passionate and want to connect with kids.
Yeah, and don't let the fear of the unknown stop you. Reach out and. If you've done one Skype call, you're capable of putting this together. And if you haven't done one Skype call yet, we just happen to know a bunch of people that can help you with that. So, yeah, I mean, it's it may seem scary to reach out to someone that you don't know, but really, that's the way the world works now. So, jump in with 2 feet and go make it happen.
And the only caveat I would give you is to maybe do a little bit of investigation on the person to make sure they are a valid person. When he says he is the bracketologist for USA Today and in the Indianapolis Star and so forth, I hoped that he was really the real guy. Turns out that he was. But we were looking for a hot air balloonist as well, and I found one online, and he runs his own company in Albuquerque. They wanted to study the balloon fiesta that is there. And turns out this guy actually does weather balloons in space, and to try to bring free internet to the masses, which really wasn't the quite fit, but it turned out he answered all the kids' questions, and it was a perfect fit in the end. Yeah. But, just a little bit of research will go a very long way. So it's good stuff.
No doubt.
All right, Micah, it's time to know what's for lunch. What's for lunch?
I had some leftover delicious green chili macaroni and cheese.
Ooh, that sounds pretty tasty. Mike, what's for lunch?
I had a couple of leftover tostadas and some roasted butternut squash.
Ooh, that gets the
And I brought in Tabasco sauce to go with the tostadas too, because I knew we wouldn't have any in the school fridge. So. Gotta give it a little spice.
You gotta bring your own kick to go with it. I love it. And I had, yes, it was the almond butter jelly sandwich. But I had butternut squash. I should have had some of that. So, but anyway, there's next time. All right, friends. We'll see you next time on Ed Tech Chatting 2. See ya.
Bye, everyone.